Shabbat Shalom and welcome to the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, who according to Bible prophecy have been scattered into the four corners of the earth, and who also, according to Bible prophecy, are awaiting the return of their Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Greetings. Greetings to the 144,000 among them who are now being prepared to give a last warning message that would gather together in the spirit of Elijah, the chosen from the four corners of the earth. Greetings. Greetings to those who are not of the bloodline, but as it were, through faith in that Hebrew Messiah, have committed to be with the bloodline, to be among the bloodline, and trusting the Hebrew Messiah for salvation among the Gentiles. Greetings. Blessings upon those that are working in the healthcare field and the first responders that are out here every day, multiple times a day, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us, keep our streets and sidewalks clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on those trying to help, deliver, and rescue people from prostitution, the victims of prostitution, the victims of child prostitution, the victims of pornography and the victims of child pornography, the victims of pedophilia and child molestation, the victims of human trafficking and sex slave operations. Blessing upon the victims and blessings on those trying to deliver the victims, and double curses on the perverts and profiteers who caused this suffering. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States of America today, and millions around the world in the same or worse conditions. Blessings upon them and those trying to help, for theirs is the kingdom. Greetings to the chat, Brother Curry, Sister Heavenly Garden, Jacoba, Brother Kelly, Hebrew Lion, Chaplain Lewis, Brother Mark, Sister Isha, Nevaska 23, and all else. Greetings and blessings to all you, and then those that are over in Power Talk as well. Greetings and blessings to them as well. We are going to continue our study today in the book of Revelation, and we talked last night as we did study the fifth church, Sardis, that actually that was the last church that represented the past. From today, we're going to be looking at the present and the future. Okay, from today. So the first thing I want to study today about Philadelphia is the why. What do I mean, the why? Why are we in Philadelphia now? What does the Bible show us to show that we're in Philadelphia now? That's the first part. We're going to be doing two parts of Philadelphia. This is the first part. Why are we in Philly now? What does the Bible show us to indicate we're in Philadelphia right now? Okay. And just to also reiterate what we talked about before, the seven churches, the seven seals, the seven trumpets move in harmony. They move in harmony. And so they're chronological in order together. 1 through 7, chronological in order. The Bible does not always show itself chronologically, but in this particular case, it is chronological. So you're moving through churches, which means you're moving through periods of time that start in the first century and end with the return of the Messiah and the beginning of the 1,000-year period. Once you get through the seven churches and the seven trumpets and the seven seals, you start, after the Bible goes through those iterations, you begin to see the beginning of the 1,000-year period of the reign of Messiah on earth. All of that is in the book of Revelation. So today we're going to be looking at why are we in Philadelphia? Why are we in Philadelphia? For that, we have to go back to the book of Daniel. We have to go back to the book of Daniel, which I told you we were going to study. In the book of Daniel, as I mentioned before, all of the prophets are represented in the book of Revelation. But there's a particular closeness between Daniel and Revelation. Daniel unlocks Revelation, and Revelation unlocks Daniel. They really do go back and forth like that. And so today we're going to go back to Daniel. As we did earlier, we studied from Daniel in the beginning of the Revelation series. If you recall, we went and spent time in Daniel to understand the four powers that scatter Israel and Judah mentioned in Zechariah. Again, see, we're talking already Daniel and Zechariah, and we're dealing with Revelation. And so you can see how the prophets are tied. There's a lot, as you know, as we already saw, there's a lot more depth to it as we look in this stuff up. So let's go to Zechariah again, just to review real quick. I want to get right into it because we got a lot to cover, brethren. And I want to also forewarn you, you're going to see some things that you've never seen before. And especially if you are coming out of a Christian background. Because Christianity has put definitions on things that are hanging with us sometimes. As I mentioned, when you study this, and I encourage you on your own, please read the Bible. It's going to take you a whole year to read it. At least some of y'all very hungry for the word and read it before that. That's fantastic. Read it again. So when you read this for yourself, start in Genesis and go through to the book of Revelation. There are many programs available. You just Google Bible reading 1 year, and they'll show you all types of options that you have to read a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening and get it done in a year. Okay. And so we started in the Hebrew New Year, which is last April, and we're going to be finished by the end of the Hebrew year, which is March this year. Praise the Most High. Okay. And so myself, I'm in the book of Isaiah right now in the Old Testament, and I'm in Philippians, or did I pass Philippians? No, I'm actually in Colossians in the New Testament. That's where I'm at right now. So get the Bible, read it for yourself. And the reason it's important, it's only important, let me just paraphrase, it's only important to those of us that believe it's the holy book. It's not important to everybody. Okay? Neither is the message for everybody. It's important to those that believe, as I do, that this is the most holy of all books on the earth. And that this book was given to us. 66 iterations within this volume was given to us to navigate us through these last moments in Earth's history. And the thing that makes this book different from every other book is it's the prophetic utterance, which is why we're studying the book of Revelation. It's telling us ahead of time, not just what was behind us, but where we are and where we're going and why. It tells us all of that. And there's no other book on the planet Earth that does it to the extent that this book does. Okay. And so it's proven, it's been shown, and now it's important that we find out where we are now. Okay. Now, let's go to Zechariah chapter 1. Zechariah chapter 1. And you're going to see questions being asked of angels by prophets. Remember the order. Father Yah gives it to Mashiach, who gives the messages to the angels. The angels bring the messages to the prophets appointed to hear the message, who are also appointed to speak the message. The revelation of Yahushua, the Messiah, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of Yah and of the testimony of Messiah Yahushua and of all things which he saw. That is the order of prophecy. And you see it here in Zechariah. Zechariah is receiving a message from an angel, and he has got questions. So let's take a look at that. You're going to also see that in Daniel. Okay. So, because it's the same, it doesn't change, it's the same order. Revelation mentions how it's done, but you see it all over the Bible in the prophets. So let's take a look in Zechariah chapter 1, beginning at verse 12. Then the angel of Yahweh answered and said, O Yahweh of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years? What is he talking about? This is the 70-year period of time when Babylon destroyed Jerusalem and took Judah captive. And Jeremiah had prophesied that that captivity would last 70 years. And here is Zechariah at the end of that time. And he's listening to the angel talk. Verse 13. And Yahweh answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith Yahweh of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Yahweh shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then, so that's the rebuilding of the temple and the city after the Babylonian captivity, which actually stretched into the Persian Empire. Okay. And so now he's going to see something else. Okay, here we go. Then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. Horns represent power. These are the powers, 4 powers that have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. At that time, there was only one power. It was Babylon, followed by the Medes and the Persians. But this man is being told now there's 4. Okay, now we studied that in Daniel. We're going to review it real quick as we're doing this. Okay, and Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. So the 4 horns that scattered Judah are Gentile powers, which we saw in Daniel. And the 4 powers that are coming to scatter the Gentiles, well, that's in Revelation. So we're going to have to come back to that. Okay, that's in the book of Revelation. But in Daniel now, we saw the 4 powers. If you recall, we saw Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Now, Daniel chapter 8 is what we're looking at right now. Daniel chapter 8. Now, again, we're getting ready to go for rough waters for y'all, because I want to tell you, when you're coming into this real truth from the word of the Most High alone, there are things that you're going to learn. I'm going to tell you my own experience. And there's things that you're going to unlearn. And in order to get the holy education from the Most High, there's a lot that has to be unlearned. And you're going to be shocked. And you're going to be shocked as a certain Caucasian woman was on TV one year, and somebody revealed to her that Messiah was not a Caucasian man. And she said, yes, Jesus is white. And several people had to tell her, no, he's not. And she was shocked and didn't understand that he wasn't born on December 25th. Now, you and I might chuckle at that, but there's people that believe that. We might have been among those people that actually believed those things at one point. So that's what, so for that woman to grow, she would have to what? Unlearn. No, he's not white. And no, he wasn't born on December 25th. And yes, we know the time period he was born and the area of the world he was born And those are brown people. Okay. But she'd have to unlearn her first stuff if she wanted. You see what I'm saying? That's a simple example, but there's a lot of that will happen as we study these prophecies. Now, we're going to Daniel 8. That will lead us to Daniel 9. Daniel 9 has been taught by Christian churches for literally centuries incorrectly. When you look at it from the eyes of the Hebrews, you will see it differently. When you're looking at it from the eyes of Christian teachers, you will not get it. As the book of Revelation taught us, the message is not for everybody. It's who he said, who? His servants. The servants are the children of Israel. Always have been, always will be. Once in a while, he appoints somebody who becomes the children of Israel from Gentiles as his servant, as he did with Nebuchadnezzar, as he did with Cyrus. But they came to be grafted in to the nation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been his servants. Okay? And those are exceptions that prove the rule. So let's continue. We're going to look at Daniel 8. We already know Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome are the four powers. Here in Daniel 8, the focus, as it was in Daniel 7, is going to be on the Romish one that comes and the Greek before it. So it was Greece, then Rome. Okay. And if you remember about Greece, I want to give you a big hint to help you as we're going in chapter 8 here. Let's look at chapter 7 real quick. As the leopard was described as Greece in Daniel chapter 7, notice, I want you to notice what is said here in Daniel 7, verse 6. Just to give you an example, so you'll see what you're seeing. You'll understand what you're seeing when we look at chapter 8 here. Daniel 7, verse 6 says, and after this, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads. Remember that. Greece is the only one that had multiple heads. 4 heads. And dominion was given to it. We're going to see that again in chapter 8. So I'm trying to give you that heads up, okay? So let's go to chapter 8, Daniel 8, and let's begin at verse 1. But we're going to hit Daniel 9, where y'all going to really be blown away because of all the misinformation that's been given about Daniel 9 in the 70 years, which Christians have completely messed up. So we're going to go through that, but we need Daniel 8 first. And again, the focus of today, key focus is, why are we in Philadelphia? Okay, why are we in Philadelphia now? So let's look at Daniel chapter 8, beginning at verse 1. Daniel chapter 8, beginning at verse 1. And I'm going to move a little bit more brisk than I would if we were actually studying the prophecy of Daniel instead of Revelation, but I'm trying to do it in a deliberate fashion so that you could keep up, okay, because there's a lot of information. Daniel chapter 8, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision was revealed unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. So this vision took place in the 3rd year of Belshazzar. Why is that significant? Belshazzar was Nebuchadnezzar's grandson. We saw him in chapter 5 when he got killed, when he saw the writing on the wall. So the writing on the wall, that situation actually happened after Daniel 8. And as we saw, it also happened after Daniel 7, because when Daniel walked into the court that night to interpret the writing on the wall for King Belshazzar, he already knew these 2 prophecies, and he already knew, which is what he said that night, your kingdom is finished. And he said it's going to be given to the Medes and the Persians. Okay, Daniel already knew that when he walked into the court in Daniel chapter 5. So here is how we got to that information. Daniel 7 and Daniel 8. So here is Daniel 8. So now he got a vision in the 3rd year of Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar's grandson. Here we go. Daniel 8:2. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. So he's standing by the Ulai River. Apparently, the river flowed through the palace, or at least through Shushan, the city. A river flowed through the city. this Uli. And he was by this river when he received this vision. Okay. Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So he sees a ram. You know, ram has these horns, but he noticed the horns coming out of the ram's head. There were two, but they were not even. One was higher than the other. And the higher of the two horns came out of the head last. It grew up out of the head after the first one. The Medes and the Persians. The Medes and the Persians, right? We would go down here and see verse 20. Just get ahead real quick and look at verse 20. It gives you the definition right there. Look at verse 20 of Daniel chapter 8. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. See, pretty clear, right? So he sees this ram, he sees two horns. The first horn was Media, Medes. These are both now children of Japhet. The Medes first. And remember the night that Belshazzar was slain in chapter 5, he said Darius the Median took the kingdom, being 62 years old. So Darius was a Mede. There were two Darius. One was in Persia, one was Mede. But this one was the Mede. 62 years old, he took the kingdom. That was the first part of the Media Persia. They shared power. The second one came up after, but he was higher because, as the Bible will show us, the Persians were richer than the Medes. They have more money. Persians were richer. And so they would be more powerful because of their wealth. Ahasuerus in the book of Esther was the Persian king, and he had 120 provinces. Remember that? He was the most powerful, richest Persian king. Daniel 11 talks about that as well. So here, that's why he said he saw a ram, and he said he had two horns, and it represented Media and Persia. Okay, everybody there so far? Okay, here we go. Daniel chapter 8. Let's start now to verse 4. And I saw the ram, watch this, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Now, notice the directions. He was pushing westward and northward and southward. But there are four directions. We're missing one. Did you notice that? He said he was pushing westward and northward and southward. He wasn't pushing eastward. Why? Because he came out the east. Okay? So he came out the east and he's pushing in all the other directions and he became great. Medes and the Persians. You got me? So he came out the east. He pushed north, took over there, took over west, took over south, and he became great. That's the ram, the Medes and the Persians. All right? Let's continue. Daniel chapter 8, verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Picture the scene. So you got a goat coming, but this goat got one horn, and he's coming from the west. Now, if you look at a map and you see where these countries were, the east represents where now you see Iraq and Iran. That's the east. The west would be where you see Europe or Western Europe, because it's all Europe, but Western Europe. That was Asia Minor in the east. Now you got Western Europe where you got Greece coming, okay, from the west. And he's coming fast. Notice his feet weren't even touching the ground. And he had a powerful horn, a notable horn in his head. And he's coming from the west hard. You see that? That's, okay, we're going to see. That's Alexander the Great, okay, coming from the west. And he's coming hard. All right? Notice verse 6. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power. So there was a collision between the goat and the ram. The ram was coming hard. It was like in football, you call it a blind side hit in football. In other words, a guy's running with his football and he don't see what's coming. And somebody's coming at him full speed from a side he can't see and hits him. It's usually a pretty bad scene. It's a collision. It's like running through a red light, in a car coming. Or you're running through the green light and a car coming through the red light and you weren't expecting that. People get killed like that every year, right? That's what happened here. So you have this ram, but this goat was coming from the west, fast and hard and in fury. And there was a major collision. Okay, let's take a look. Verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stomped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So he came in aggressively, ruthlessly, took the ram, killed the ram, stomped on the ram. And he said he came with choler. That's with anger, fury. Okay, he came with anger and fury and took the ram, took his kingdom. Okay, let's look at verse 21 just to get confirmation of who that is. Daniel 8:21. And the rough goat, call him the rough goat, is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So that's Greece and Alexander the Great coming from the west, destroying everything in his path and doing it fast. Alexander the Great first led the Greek army when he was 19 years old. By the time he was 30, he had taken over the then known world. Okay, Alexander, that's why they call him Alexander the Great, right? So he came and he smashed the Medo-Persian Empire and took it. All right, verse 8. Now I want you to remember the ram became great at first. Notice how the goat is described. Daniel 8, verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. So you had great with the ram, but then you had very great with the he-goat. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Notice this now. This is why we went to chapter 7 first. Watch. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. Remember, the leopard had 4 heads. So this great horn was broken and 4 notable horns came up in its place. Okay, verse 22. Let's read about that. Verse 22, Daniel 8:22. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. What does that mean? Well, history teaches us Alexander the Great died. Either he was poisoned or he poisoned himself or something happened. He was 32. He died. He died young. He had children. He had 4 generals that worked under him. And they killed his children and they took the kingdom. And they divided the kingdom among the 4 of them. One took the north, one took the south, one took the east, one took the west. Okay, you had Lysimachus, you had Seleucus, you had Cassandra, and you had Ptolemy. Ptolemy took the south, where you had Egypt. Seleucus took the north, and then Cassandra and Lysimachus took the east and the west. And them 4 divided the Greek Empire among them. Okay? So he had 4. That's why he had 4 heads on the Greek Empire. Okay? Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassandra, and Ptolemy. At the end of the day, it became Seleucus and Ptolemy. They were fighting, of course, for power. And it became the southern kingdom, the south, king of the south, and the king of the north, Seleucus. Eventually, both of them transformed. The king of the north transformed to what we know became Rome. The king of the south transformed to what became Islam. Okay. Let's keep going. And that was a long transformation. It didn't happen overnight. Okay. It was a lot of wars and all that going on until the end. You had Islam and Catholicism, two religious powers that were also military. Okay. So here, verse 9, Daniel 8, verse 9. And out of one of them, that is one of the four divisions, came forth, here's our friend again, not really, a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land being Israel in the west. So he waxed south, east, and west, which means he came out of the north, the little horn. We saw him in Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. Notice what it says. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. That's the Pope right there. That's the papacy. Okay. And later on in chapter 7, we saw another interesting thing. Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 23. Daniel 7:23. Verse 23, 24, and 25. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which we know to be Rome, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. That's the little horn. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. There's your little horn coming out of Rome, from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire. In Daniel 8, he skips over the Roman Empire and goes right to the little horn, the Holy Roman. The focus in Daniel 8 is the Holy Roman Empire and that effect on Israelites. Remember, these are all part of the powers that did what? Scatter Israel and Judah. Okay? And this one persecutes the saints. We were talking about last night with Sardis. So you had the Roman Catholic Church established as an institution in the 6th century, followed by Islam in the 7th century, followed by Judaism in the 8th century, all led by Rome. Then you had Rome in power to his Christopher Columbus's, Ponce de Leon, all so that they could come to all of these islands and take over and enslave us. That is the true Hebrews. That's why it says he wear out the saints of the Most High, and then beat us over the head with Christianity and white Jesus, and bring us especially to what became the United States of America, and continue to brainwash us with white Jesus and Christianity, twisting the Bible to suit their means. But that same Bible, them fools didn't even understand. The Most High would eventually allow us to read it and find out about ourselves. That same Bible that they tried to twist the scriptures to make their heinous acts toward us, their inhumanity to us, was used to awaken us, to realize who we are, and to now see our future and their future. Isn't that amazing? Because our Most High is amazing. What did Paul say? The goodness and severity of the Most High. Praise the Most High. Let's continue. Daniel chapter 8. So now you see the little horn coming out of the north. And now you see the power. It says exceeding great. very great, he said, exceeding great for the little horn. Why? Because it said he would subdue not just the Middle East, the whole earth. See, the ram representing the Medes and the Persians subdue what we now know to be the Middle East and Asia Minor. But then came the Greeks, which did a little further. They went into what's now Afghanistan and to what is Egypt and North Africa. That's where they went. So they went and became very great. But then the little horn became exceeding great because the Bible told us he subdues the whole planet, the whole earth. Okay? But our focus, even though we'll be given this knowledge, is what is his relation to the Hebrews. Those are the servants. And we see here, the Bible said he's gonna attack y'all's servants. And so does Revelation say that. So now I'm going to show us how it attacks y'all's servants in another way, on a religious side. Okay? Daniel chapter 8. And we're going to see a riddle that's not going to be solved until we get to Daniel 9. You ready? Here we go. Daniel chapter 8, beginning at verse 10. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, that is the little horn, and cast down some of the hosts of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself, even to the prince of the host. Who's the prince of the host of Israel? Who is the prince of the host of Israel? The prince is Messiah. Okay? He is the prince of the host of Israel. A prince is an heir to a king. You got me? A prince is an heir to a king. Messiah is heir to the kingdom given to him by the king, his father. And this man magnified himself against the prince. In other words, he tries to take the place of Messiah, him and his institution. Okay, let's continue. Verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary cast down. By him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. So let's talk about this. We already have discussed in the past the importance of the sanctuary. As a matter of fact, if you recall, when we started the study of the book of Revelation, I showed you how this is taking place with Messiah as the high priest in the sanctuary. Okay? And that the heavenly sanctuary was copied. Moses was given the blueprint, the pattern of a sanctuary for the nation when we were going into the land. Remember? He went into Mount Sinai and was given all of the instructions and the measurements and the materials that was going to be used, because the Father told Moses, let them make me a sanctuary that I might dwell among them. We also know that the rebuilding of the temple at the end of the 70 years was also the rebuilding of the city of Jerusalem as well as the temple itself. Okay, it was rebuilt. So when Messiah returned to the earth, when he came to the earth the first time as a man, the second temple was there. But this power right here would do away with the temple, would do away with the sanctuary, would do away with the service. And in so doing, he's trying to destroy the people, because the thing that made us different, if you recall, we talked about this last night. Aaron was wearing a breastplate with 12 precious stones in it. Remember that? And he was wearing that breastplate to represent the children of Israel. Suppose you have no Aaron. Suppose you have no sanctuary. You got no representation. Are you following? So this power right here did away with the sanctuary. First, what they did under the Roman rule of the Gentiles is destroy the temple and the city. Remember that? 70 AD. Destroyed it. Then comes this little horn, Christianity, and say, there's no more law. That's a deep saying. There's no more law. It's done away with. You have no more temple. You have no more sanctuary. No. Now you have Pope, who is your priest. They call him the Holy Father. And he's got archbishops. Now you got a replacement of Yah's people already with the Ashkenazis, and you got a replacement of his nation with the Catholic Church. And this is what you're seeing right now with all Christianity is an extension of that replacement. So that you got Christians saying we spiritual Israel. You see it? And the awakening, as we're now awakening, is to show us there is a sanctuary. It's the heavenly one, of which the earthly was a copy. We have a high priest for Israel who has our names in his heart. And he's interceding for us. So now the door is open. You want to see more of that? Why are we in Philly? Let me just give you a peek, because I said that on purpose, you know. Look, Revelation chapter 3. Revelation 3, beginning at verse 7. Just going to read verse 7 for now and go right back to Daniel. I'm going to give you a little hint. You ready? Revelation 3, verse 7. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the king of David, he that shutteth and no man openeth, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. Verse 8, one more verse. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door. See, under this little horn, we lost sight of it. But now, it's open to us. Just a little hint. We're going to come back to it more. Just giving you a little bit of peek as we're getting started here. Okay, so now I'll go back to Daniel. So this little horn, let's go back to Daniel chapter 8, verse 11. Verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Was it not? Under Christianity, was it not? Okay. Verse 12. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it cast the truth to the ground and practiced and prospered by reason of transgression. What transgression? Our transgression. Why were we placed in slavery in the first place? Why were we kicked out the land in the first place? Why were we scattered in the first place? Transgression. Are you following? It was given him by reason of transgression. Why was it destroyed in 70 AD? Messiah said, there shall come destruction of the land and wrath upon this people. That's our people. We worship other gods. We set up man-made institutions in terms of Pharisee and Sadducee. We added man-made rules to his law. Therefore, we had no more law. We rejected Messiah. A host was given by reason of transgression. Okay? And he cast the truth to the ground. Only truth given to this earth was given to the Hebrews. You only, the prophet Amos says, you only, the Most High said through him, have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your sins. He hath not shown himself to any other people. As for his laws and judgments, the psalmist says, they have not known them. What advantage hath the Jew, Paul says, much in every way, for unto them were committed the oracles of Yah. To them pertain the promises and the covenants and the giving of the law. And of them came Messiah, who is blessed forever. Amen. So by reason of transgression, this little horn was permitted to do what he did. And he cast truth to the ground and replaced it with Christianity. Christianity is not the truth. You can't take a New Testament and say we New Testament Christians and do away with the prophets and claim you following the truth. At best, you following half truths, and you're not even following half. At best. No, the truth was given to the Hebrews. Salvation is of the Jews. That ain't changed. That ain't changed. Okay? Let's go back, Daniel chapter 8. So now Daniel is being shown this little horn that will cast his people away. This little horn that will take the truths that were given to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Moses and the nation and cast them to the ground and prosper in doing it. Prosper in doing it, which is what you see today. Okay? Verse 13. Now he's going to hear a conversation between two angels. That is, Daniel is. He's going to observe the conversation. It's meant for him to observe. Daniel chapter 8, verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the host and the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? How long are you going to allow this until you put an end to this paganism? Now, before we go forward, I need to remind you of some things that are very important that we have already studied in our study here. We started off the book of Revelation, and among the discussions we had in the beginning when we did the preview, remember we did the preview to the book, and we started chapter 1 after the preview. You need to go back and look at that because this is important right here. We talked about the feasts. Remember we talked about the feasts? And how the Bible says there's only 3 appointed feasts. Remember that? And we saw that the 3 feasts were the Passover, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, which is also called Pentecost, and then the feast at the end of the year called the Feast of Ingathering, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles. Remember that? And we saw that in each feast there was a prophetic meaning. Such we said, Messiah was the Passover unleavened bread feast. That's Messiah. He represented the Passover lamb that was slain for the sins of the people. He represented the blood over the doorpost that caused transgression to be overlooked. Remember that? And then we saw the Feast of Weeks, the 49 days that ends on the first day of the week on the 50th day, that represented the first fruits of the sacrifice of Messiah, because he took with him people that came out the graves. Remember that? People that came out the graves, who we believe is the 24 elders, came out the graves after his resurrection, and that's the first fruits of his sacrifice. Remember that? Then we talked about the Feast of Tabernacles or Ingathering in the 7th month, in the 15th day of the Hebrew 7th month. And we showed how that's the return of Messiah. Remember all of that? Now, Passover was fulfilled when Messiah was crucified in 31 AD. Feast of Weeks was fulfilled when after Messiah was crucified in 31 AD. But the rest of it come all the way to now. Why is that? Daniel chapter 8, verse 14. The question was asked in verse 13, how long are you going to allow this? Verse 14 gives the answer. Daniel chapter 8, verse 14. Notice what it said. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So the earthly sanctuary, as we saw, was going to be destroyed. But we would discover and realize there's a heavenly sanctuary that was told to Moses, which also we went through Hebrews, and it showed us, in which of the tribe of Judah in this heavenly sanctuary would arise a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Remember that? And so he's saying there's going to be a cleansing of the sanctuary. Wouldn't be the earthly one, but the high priest after the order of Melchizedek will cleanse the sanctuary. And it was going to happen 2,300 evening and mornings. And in Bible prophecy, what? A day is equal to what? A year. So there's a 2,300-year period before the sanctuary is cleansed. And then the end comes in the Feast of Tabernacles. A 2,300-year period. That's what brings us from AD 31 all the way to now. Are you following me so far? Okay, that's what brings us from AD 31 all the way to now. But we're not done yet. We're still talking about, you're starting to get a little bit of a glimpse as to why we're in Philly. We're going to continue though. Okay, got to continue. Ready? You ready to go? Let's move forward. So now the question, let's get started at verse 14 and go from verse 14 down to verse 15. Okay, Daniel 8, 14, and 15. Watch very closely. Again, what we're going to read here in Daniel 8 is going to go into Daniel 9. And that's why I'm being very thorough as we're looking at Daniel 8, because of all the misapplication, misrepresentation, Christian foolishness in Daniel 9. We got to come back here first. Okay. All right. Daniel 8, 14, and 15. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass, when I, even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. So now he's seen this. He's seen this whole thing. He's seen the ram. He's seen the goat. He's seen the horn. He's seen the four horns. He's seen the little horn. He sees the sanctuary being trodden underfoot by pagan power, and they're prospering and destroying Yah's ordained method of salvation. They're prospering. Okay? And so now he's looking for meaning. Okay? And what we already read, part of the meaning was given to him. Okay, let's take a look. Daniel chapter 15. Let's go. Verse 16. Let's read from verse 16 down to verse 21. Actually, from 16 to 22. He's given most of it right here. Let's take a look. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uli, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. Now, wait a minute. So he saw a man, or he heard a voice from between the banks of a river. So you got one side of a river, and there's only two sides of a river. You got one side and the other, and between the banks, he hears a voice. What's that mean? That means the voice was coming from someone standing on the river. Let me say that again. So he's by a river, and there's two banks on the river, one side and the other side. And he hears a voice. When he's seeking for meaning, he's hearing the voice from between the banks of the river. Somebody's standing on the river. And that voice said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision, because he has seen the appearance of a man. That was Gabriel. And somebody's commanding Gabriel, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. Who is that? Y'all know who it is, right? Matter of fact, let's go over the order. Father gives message to Messiah. Messiah gives message to angel. Angel gives message to prophet. Here you got Gabriel being told, give this message to the prophet. Make him understand. So according to the order, that man on the banks of on the river there, standing in the river on the water, that's Messiah. And he's giving angel Gabriel instruction. He said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. Okay? It's important that we understand this, because if you ever read chapter 10, you're going to want to know that. Okay? Very important. Okay, so let's continue. Make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and I fell on my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright and said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For the time appointed, the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest, having two horns, are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. So now, let's go over what he's described. He's described the ram. He's described the goat. He's described the great horn in the goat's head. And he's described the four little horns, the four horns of the divisions that came up after. He's described all of that. So let's talk about what he's missing right now. He's missing the little horn and the vision of the sanctuary, the 2,300 days. Those two things have not been explained to him yet. Okay, I want you to notice that. It's going to be important. Okay, so he's got the ram, he's got the goat, he got the big horn between the ram's head there, or the goat's head, the four divisions that came up after, all that's just explained to him. Next, Daniel chapter 8, verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. Now he's on the little horn. Okay. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. So the little horn has power, but it doesn't come from himself. You want to see where the little horn's power come from? Let's show you. Keep your finger there. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. Revelation 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So he shall be powerful, but not in his own power, in the power of the dragon. The dragon is Asatan. So his power is mighty, and he's going to subdue the whole earth by the power of the dragon. Do you see what we're dealing with? Okay, go back to Daniel 8 now. Back to Daniel 8. Let's read 23 again. 23 and 24. In the latter time of their kingdom, when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences, that's spiritual wickedness in high places, shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. The Israelites are being destroyed under his hand. He understands dark sentences, and his power is given from the dragon. Putting it all together now? See that? Verse 25. Watch this. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Ooh, there's a lot here. So he said, he shall cause craft, that is deceit, that is misdirection. Do you see that? Do you see it going on with the media? Do you see it going on in the churches? Do you see it going on in everything in society that is all built on lies and deception? That they don't want you to even believe what your eyes see. And they put stuff in plain sight and hide it. You see? He shall cause craft to prosper. Nobody's as they seem. Everything is different than what it seems. They even made a movie about it to mock us. It's called The Matrix. Y'all know about The Matrix. We living in the Matrix. Nothing is as it seems. That's the devil mocking us. I'm hiding it in plain sight. Y'all can't even see it. Okay? Praise God. Exactly. So, but the devil does that. He mocks us by putting stuff in front of us that we don't understand. Because even if people understand that nothing is as it seems, nobody understands the truth except the Hebrews that read this book right here. It could be placed right in front of people and they won't get it. Except the Hebrews that read this book right here. Okay. Let's continue. So he caused craft to prosper, By peace, destroy many. Now, this is the one we got to look at first before we move forward. Got to tell you this one now. How he destroys many by peace. Remember 1492. Remember 1492. When them people showed up on the shores of what is now Puerto Rico, or what is now Boricua, when they showed up on the shores of what is now the United States of America, how'd they do it? They came with smiles. Hi, we just, nice to meet y'all. By peace, what did they do? Destroy everything there and enslave it and take the assets and the land. They always come at you with a smile, but in their heart is wickedness. By peace, and they all came in the name of the king and in the name of the Pope with Christianity, all of them. Even the pilgrims who were running from the Pope and the king came here with their doctrine and brought it out there to New England and did the same thing the Catholics was doing to them. They did to the Indians. Same thing. You had some exceptions like a Roger Williams who established Rhode Island and helped the Indians there, but he was the exception. The rest of them Europeans was coming to take and destroy with a smile. Let's kill these savages, they would say. They're uncivilized. By peace, he said, destroy many. Same thing in Brazil, same thing in Central America, same thing in Mexico, same thing in all the islands, St. John, St. Thomas, Jamaica, Cuba, same thing everywhere. Australia, same thing. South Africa, same thing. Belgium, same thing when they came down into the Congo. Same thing. By peace, destroy many. Okay? That ain't changed. Still ain't changed. Okay? Let's continue. But he's going to be destroyed by the Prince of Princes. Okay? Verse 26 now. So wait, before we go to verse 26, Daniel 8, before we go there. So we understand now. Daniel has shown this vision. Gabriel has explained to him the ram. Gabriel has explained to him the goat. Gabriel has explained to him the great horn between the goat's eyes. Daniel has explained to him the 4 divisions of that goat's horns, and then the little horn. Daniel has explained to him all of that, and there's one thing that was not yet explained. The 2,300 evenings and mornings, which Daniel understands is a long time. He's about to be told it's a long time if he didn't know. It's a long time. That's 2 millennium and 3 centuries. So he's like, wait. You mean we're going to have problems with these heathen for 2,300 years? Yep. Okay. Let's continue. Daniel 8:26. And the vision of the evening and morning, that's the 2,300 days. 2,300 evening days is translated evenings and mornings. That's why he puts it this way in Daniel 8:26. And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. Wherefore, shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. So he did not give him information that Daniel wanted about that one. What would be the information you would want? Okay, when is this going to start? When is it going to end? Has it already started? Are we almost to the end of it? Right. How is it going to start? That's what he wants to know. He said, don't worry, it's true. And it's going to be shut up right now. You're not going to know. It's going to be for many days. That's like somebody saying to you, I got a secret I got to tell you, but I ain't going to tell you now. How that make you feel? Somebody say, I got to tell you this secret, man. It's powerful. What is it? I can't tell you right now. That would make you and I sick, right? Well, look at Daniel. Daniel 8:27. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward, I rose up and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. They were trying to figure out that 2,300 days, and they couldn't figure it out because it was shut up. The day Gabriel told him it's going to be shut up. You're not going to get it now. Okay? You're not going to get it. It's long, but you're not going to get it yet. Made Daniel sick. Just like you and I'll be sick behind that, right? Be mad even. Come on now. You going to leave me like that? Yes, he is. But later on now, Daniel 9, Daniel receives the information. Okay, Daniel receives the vital information in Daniel 9. And this is hence is one of the problems with Christianity. They do not link, most of them. The SDA church started to do it, but they even messed it up. But they don't link Daniel 8 with Daniel 9. They just take Daniel 9 as an entity into itself. Okay, then they mess it up. But you got to link it with the 2300 days of Daniel 8, because that's the only thing he wasn't told yet. So now, Belshazzar is gone. Okay. Darius is here, the son of Ahasuerus, the seed of the Medes. And so Daniel, this is one of the last year of Daniel's life, actually. Notice what it said in Daniel chapter 1, going back talking about Daniel chapter 1 in verse 21. And Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus. So Daniel lived through several kingdoms, Babylon and Medes and Persians as well. And so he was near the end of his life, because here you had Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, and after Darius came Cyrus. And so, that's when that was in his life. So Daniel didn't live so that until when they came back to rebuild the temple and rebuild the city, he wasn't there. But so this is telling you here at the end, and he's got to know about, this 2300 days. So now I'm not going to read all of Daniel 9 for the sake of time, but I want you to read it when you get a chance. Daniel begins to at this point in Daniel 9, one of the greatest examples of a prayer of repentance is in Daniel chapter 9. And so we're not going to read it right now because of the sake of time. The focus today is why are we in Philly? But I would really admonish you, read Daniel 9, his prayer. It is one of the greatest examples of repentant prayer. It really is. I mean, there's a couple of these, like Psalm 51 is, Jacob, right before he met his brother Esau, that's another one. Ruth, when she was going to be with Naomi and not go back to Moab. But Daniel 9 really is a powerful prayer of repentance. So what happens now is Daniel understood that the 70 years were up and they hadn't gone back yet. And he's remembering this 2300 year prophecy, and he's bothered. So he begins to fast and to pray on behalf of Israel. And he's fasting and praying. And that's what this prayer of repentance is about. So let's skip down from Daniel 9. Let's go to, I'm going to stop at verse 19. Let me start at verse 18 just to get at least on verse 17. Sorry. I want to get a little piece of the prayer, just a little piece. But you read that when you get a chance from 1 to like 19. Very powerful. But let's read from verse 17 to 19 for now. Okay. Now, therefore, O our Most High, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate for the master's sake. O my Most High, incline thine ear and hear. Open thine eyes and behold our desolations in the city which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousnesses, but for thy great mercy. O Yahweh, hear. O Yahweh, forgive. O Yahweh, hearken and do. Defer not for thine own sake, O my Most High, for thy city and the people that are called by thy name. So he's pleading with the Most High for Jerusalem and for Judah and for Israel, acknowledging their sin, acknowledging they deserve what they got. And he's pleading for him to remember them, because he's now wondering, are you going to remember us because 2,300 years? Okay. Now, verse 20. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh, my Most High, for the holy mountain of my Most High. The holy mountain of Yah is the nation of Israel, where the temple is. Okay, that's the holy mountain. Yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. So now, a couple things here. You remember it was Gabriel that was commanded by the Messiah to teach Daniel the vision of chapter 8. So here's Gabriel returning. And he said he was praying, and Gabriel, can you imagine you deep in prayer and all of a sudden something touches you? It's the angel of Yahweh. It's Gabriel. He came and he's touching him. And he touched him to awaken him. He said, I was speaking in prayer. He came, and I want you to understand, a messenger is an angel. It's called an angel. Is another word is messenger. And they fly. They look like men, but they fly. Because notice what it says. Yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. The time of the evening oblation. That's the last sacrifice. There was a morning oblation and an evening oblation. The evening oblation is at 3 o'clock before the next day starts at 6 o'clock in the Hebrew time. So 6 p.m. is the new day in the Hebrew. The evening oblation is at 3 o'clock. There was a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice. So it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when Gabriel came to him, coming toward the next day. All right? Messiah, the Bible says, he gave up the ghost in the 9th hour. That was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The first hour is 6 a.m. The third hour is 9 a.m. The 6th hour, when darkness came on the whole earth, was 12 noon. The 9th hour, at the time of the evening sacrifice, is 3 p.m. Then the 12th hour is a new day. Okay? Mornings and evenings make up a day. All right? So here, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Gabriel touches him with information. Right? Daniel chapter 9. So I'm going to stop right here. Don't want to tease you, but there's 1:12. We got an hour and 12 minutes we've been doing this. I want to give you a little break because we got a lot more information to give you. And I want to stop here and let you digest what we just went through. Like I said, this was going to take 2 parts. Why are we in Philly? We getting ready to see it. All right. So let me stop here. So Daniel, we're stopping at Daniel chapter 9, verse 21. We're going to come back and continue in Daniel chapter 9. It's 12:43 p.m. here in DC. So we'll come back at 1:30, about 45 minutes from now, and we'll start again, give you a little break, give me a little break. We'll come back and we'll start in Daniel 9. Why are we in Philly? Second part. Okay. If I don't see you, Most High bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. If I do see you again, we'll be back to continue. Why are we in Philly right now? Shalom.